Wahanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to our most venerable teacher Bhante, our Pinnath Lokaswami Mahanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. Dear Dhamma friends, dear children. Today also we are here to talk about our supremely enlightened Buddha. As you already learned many things about our Mahabodhisattva, about his journey, about his wisdom. Now we have the Supreme Buddha in this world for the benefit of human beings and devas. Did you remember the Supreme Buddha's enlightenment? And did you remember we talked about his wisdom, his knowledge? And then we were talking about the amazing realization he gained by being the Buddha in this world. That was about the dependent origination, the way the beings suffer. And then that today we will talk about the cessation of suffering, maybe the way, maybe the path that the Supreme Buddha introduced us to practice to escape from this mass of suffering in the samsara. If you remember, I would explain this deep Dhamma in a simple word, maybe to understand all of you. Last week we were talking about the arising of suffering, the way that the beings suffer, and then the reasons for this arising of suffering. And for this we were talking about the birth is the reason for suffering, reason for the aging, illnesses, death, separation from loved ones, and all of the suffering we experience, the world beings experience because of the birth. If you remember, am I right? We were talking about the dependent origination, and then we had lots of questions, full of questions, and then we were talking about the consciousness. If you remember, consciousness, because the consciousness and the contact we were talking about. How does the eye contact arise, happen? And then we talked that for this contact, we need three things we were talking about. The first one, if you remember, the eye. And then the second one, for the contact, we need the form, that is something outside of our life. And then the third thing we need, the consciousness within us. And then when the eye works, and then when the form comes before the eye, the consciousness arises. That is the correct way that we can explain. And then with this meeting of these three things, eye, the form, and the consciousness, they meet together. And then because of the contact, the feeling arises. Feeling could be pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, or neutral feeling. We talked about the blind person last week, and I give Linda to explain about that a little bit more.
Also, I will answer. I will try, Bante, but please help, Bante. In terms of the blind person, so let's talk about the healthy seeing process first, maybe, Bante. So why we can see according to the Supreme Buddha, because we have the working eye and we have the external object, meaning the form that we are going to see. And from our working eye with the combined with the object, then the eye consciousness arises.
That's right.
But in terms of the blind person, because the eye of the blind person is not working, but there is external form. There are objects that normal people can see, houses, park, temples, stupa, but because this blind person, the eye is not working. Then in that case, in that blind person's case, his eye consciousness did not arise. But his ear consciousness arise. He could hear, but the eye consciousness did not arise because his eye is not working.
Right.
Right, Bante?
Very clear. That's very clear. Sadhu. Right. And then that was about the consciousness, and then the contact we talked based on the six sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Six sense bases as condition contact come to be. Because of the six sense bases, the contact arises. Because of the contact, feeling come to be, feeling arises. I think everybody can understand this part. Because of this feeling, maybe pleasant feeling, maybe unpleasant feeling, craving come to be, craving or desire arises. Is that clear then to everybody? Right. With craving as condition, clinging come to be. We have an attachment for something that we love a lot. That's because of the craving. We have this attachment, clinging. Because of this clinging or the attachment or maybe the strong desire, existence come to be, which means we have the environment that we can be born. Maybe wherever, according to the karma, according to the karma, the world beings collect, they have this existence, which means the environment for the birth. Because of that environment or the existence, birth come to be. Because of that, the world beings are born. Because of that birth, aging, we get old, and death, we die. We have sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, despair. All the suffering arises because of this birth. What is this? This is the wisdom of our Supreme Buddha. Being under the Bodhi tree, becoming the Buddha, he understood this as the wisdom. How these world beings are born and then they suffer and then they die, they are reborn. This is an endless journey. The Supreme Buddha understood this, and the reason is this. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. This because is called dependent origination. Everybody, this is very deep Dhamma, but do not want, you don't want to worry about that you do not understand that deeply. You will be able to understand in detail as you grow up and as you read a lot. For now, you need to have the confidence, faith in the Supreme Buddha, and he has amazing knowledge about this life, about this suffering, and about escaping from this mass of suffering. Any questions about that again? Okay. If you remember, uh, we were talking about uh, our Supreme Buddha's wisdom, and the escaping from suffering is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. The Supreme Buddha explained that was the Noble Eightfold Path. If you remember, we talked about this Noble Eightfold Path. Before going to the cessation of suffering, I would like to introduce you I would like to teach you about the Noble Eightfold Path in detail according to the suttas. And I want you to remember as you are able to understand, okay? This is something that we learned last week too. The wonderful Noble Eightfold Path to the deathless Nibbana. Okay? I I gave the chance to everybody to read the Pali words one more time. After me, you can say Samma Ditti, right way. Samma Sankappa, right intention.
Right
Samma
intention,
Vacha, right
right,
speech. Samma Kammanta, right action. Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Samma Vayama, right effort. Samma Sati, right mindfulness. Samma Samadhi, right concentration. These are the 8 aspects in the Noble Eightfold Path. Without following these 8 things in the Noble Eightfold Path, no one can escape from suffering. No one can achieve Nibbana. No one can be free from this suffering in the samsara. So you need to practice this. You need to learn these 8 things in the Noble Eightfold Path, and then you want to practice, and then you can understand. Okay, and then I will explain the Noble Eightfold Path in detail like this. The Noble Eightfold Path. Sammaditthi, right view. Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi is the basic thing that we should have in our mind. If we are Buddhists, if we are to here to practice the teachings of the Supreme Buddha, we need to understand these. We should have an idea about this Sammaditthi or right view. What is right view? Dehan, how do you see this? What is Sammaditthi? There are 4 things in Sammaditthi. Yes, Dehan.
it's knowing about the suffering and knowing about the origin of suffering and knowing about the cessation of suffering. Also knowing about the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering.
This is called right view. What is right view again? You should know about suffering. Remember, what is suffering? Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, death is suffering, separation from loved ones is suffering, many sorrow, lamentation, everything. This is suffering. The noble disciple should know about that. And then the knowing about the origin of suffering. What's the origin of suffering? Remember, we talk about the dependent origination. According to the dependent origination, this suffering arises. Knowing about the cessation of suffering, we will talk about that too. knowing about the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering, which means the Noble Eightfold Path again. This is Sammaditthi. Okay. Daham, Dinu Daham. If you go to this book, I want you to read the page 270, the first paragraph. Do you have that book with you?
My son, sir. I'm just opening the page.
270.
The only path to Nibbana.
Yes, the first paragraph.
The Blessed One's realization was complete in every way, which is why he was able to realize the Four Noble Truths as they really are. Suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation from suffering, and the way leading to the cessation of suffering.
Beautiful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And then Subodha, the next paragraph for everybody. 270.
The Buddha realized the Noble Eightfold Path, also known as the Middle Way. As the only path to Nibbana, it begins with wisdom, and based upon virtue by the development of concentration, brings about the fulfillment of wisdom culminating in liberation, a truly incredible path.
Okay, very good. Sadhu, sadhu. One more thing. Noble Eightfold Path is just the middle path. There are no any difference. If you talk about the middle path, that's the Noble Eightfold Path by the Supreme Buddha. It's clear now, everybody? Middle path is the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, we talked about Sammaditthi, and then we will go to the second one, Samma. What is it? Samma?
Samma Sankappa.
Very good. Samma Sankappa. That's Dinara?
Intention of reunitation, intention of goodwill, and intention of harmless. This is called right thought.
Very good. Intention of renunciation, which means intention, you have an idea to be free from this, the worldly things, and then you want to achieve something spiritual from the
Swami
Buddha.
Mahansa,
Yes.
what is
Renunciation. Yes, renunciation. Minupa, how do we explain that to the class?
Namabuddha, an answer. So renunciation is when you the idea of giving things up and like detaching yourself. So that's what renunciation is. Because we're attached to so many things, they cause suffering. So we have to kind of detach ourselves, and that way we kind of reduce the suffering that we experience.
Very good. Very good. Intention of renunciation, that you have that idea, this worldly things is not permanent, and then I want to be free from that. And then when we have this idea, you just follow the Noble Eightfold Path again. And then the second thing is intention of goodwill, which is like loving kindness, and intention of harmlessness, which is compassion. This is right intention or Samma Sankappa. That's the second thing we follow in the Noble Eightfold Path. Anybody who has the Marvelous Realization again, the Marvelous Sage, the book again? Subodha.
I read it, Swami. In the Noble Eightfold Path, two factors compromise wisdom, right view and right intention.
Okay. Okay. There are two things in the wisdom, which is we talked, right view and right intention. These two aspects are for the wisdom part. There are three things in the Noble Eightfold Path. The first one is the wisdom, right view, right intention. Yes, go ahead. Subodha.
Right view is the realization of Four Noble Truths. Right intention is connected with right view, which is why it comes under wisdom. What is right intention? Thoughts of renunciation, Nikkamma Sankappa, thoughts of non-ill will, Abhyapada Sankappa, and thoughts of non-harming, Abhihimsa Sankappa.
Avihimsa Sankappa. Very good. Very good. We will talk about the next thing in the Noble Eightfold Path, which is Samma Vaja. When you practice Sila, or the precepts, you have this in the Panchasila, in 5 precepts, which is Samma Vaja. And this chance is for Omid.
Sammavacha, right speech. Sammavacha is the refraining from lying, the refraining from divisive speech, the refraining from harsh speech, and the refraining from talking nonsense. This is called right speech.
Very good. Children, when we are very virtuous, when we are when we talk about something very virtuous, which is like we follow the third step in the Noble Eightfold Path, right speech or Samma Vacha. When you stop lying, that you follow the Noble Eightfold Path. When you stop divisive speech, which is really harmful for the other people, that you follow the Noble Eightfold Path, the third step. When you stop harsh speech to hurt other, you don't have that intention to hurt other. That is the path you follow from the Supreme Buddha, the Noble Eightfold Path. The third step, when you follow the Noble Eightfold, the Samma Vacha, you have refraining from talking nonsense too. It's not something simple. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering, the third step. That's why we have abstaining from lying in the Panchasila, 5 precepts as well. It's not something simple. You understand that? Very good. And then anybody who has that book, I will give you the chance to read. Maybe.
Also, Swamin Wansa, I have the book.
Okay, then go to page 271.
Yes, Swamin, it is clear from this that wisdom is not more logical reasoning or investigation, but a beautiful practice leading to realization through wise consideration and loving kindness. From this, it is evident that a truly wise person who has realized the nature of this life is a compassionate person. That is why the qualities of wisdom and compassion were equally prominent in the Buddhist life.
Okay, that's okay. Dinudam, how do you read it?
Sansa, the same sentence, the third.
Same thing, yeah.
Herein, thoughts of renunciation means cultivating wise thoughts about freeing oneself from suffering, seeing what is impermanent as impermanent, what is suffering as suffering, and what is non-self as non-self by contemplating with wisdom, engaging in wise consideration. Are thoughts of renunciation. Likewise, to cultivate a mind of loving kindness, devoid of ill will, comes under wisdom. Cultivating thoughts of compassion, free from notions of harming others, is also an aspect of right intention.
Very good. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, and then we go to the next one. That is Samma Kammanta. Samma Kammanta, right action. The Noble Eightfold Path. The fourth step. Yes, Devanga.
Samma Kammanta, right action. And what is right action? Refraining from killing living creatures, refraining from stealing, and refraining from sexual misconduct. This is
Okay.
called right action.
Yes, very good. Samma Kammanta, refraining from killing living creatures. That's the first precepts you follow in the 5 precepts. Abstaining from killing. That includes in the Noble Eightfold Path, in the Samma Kammanta, or right action. Number 2, refraining from stealing. That's the second precepts you have. The third one, refraining from sexual misconduct, you have as the third precepts. And then the fourth precept is abstention from lying. That was in the Sammavaca, if you remember. And this is right action. When you follow precepts, children, that you follow the Noble Eightfold Path. You just want to remember that, okay? When you practice loving kindness, that's the intention of the right intention. Samma Sankappa too. When you develop compassion, you follow the Noble Eightfold Path too. And then the next step is right livelihood. Samma Ajiva. Chamudi.
Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. And what is right livelihood? It's when a noble disciple gives up wrong livelihood and earns a living by right livelihood. This is called right livelihood.
Okay. The noble disciples, they do not do anything wrong to earn their living, to make money. They have good jobs, and they have the ways that they can make money in a right way. This is the practice as a noble disciple follows. And then the next, that was the 5th part in the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the 6th one we will talk. It's a little longer, right effort. If I talk a little bit about right effort, children, we have 4 steps in right effort. 2 things are for the wholesome side, and 2 things are the unwholesome things. When you want to abandon your unwholesome feelings, you should have this effort. When you want to stop the unwholesome things that you do not have already, you should have the effort to stop that, not to have that, not to take that to your mind. That is about unwholesome things. And then when you talk about the wholesome things, sometimes you find that you have no any idea about some wholesome things. Then you take the effort to have that. And then when you understand that you already have that wholesome things in your life, you should have that effort for what? To develop it. These are the 4 things in right effort. We will read this. Maybe this chance is for Minupa.
Hemasananda. Samma Vayama, right effort. And what is right effort? A monk generates enthusiasm, tries, makes an effort, exerts the mind, and strives so that bad, unskillful qualities don't arise. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that unskillful qualities that have arisen are given up. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that skillful qualities arise. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that skillful qualities that have arisen remain, are not lost, but increase, mature, and are completed by development. This is called right effort.
Sadhu, that's beautiful. So this is the right effort, Samma Vayama. Number 1 and number 2 are all about the unwholesome things. Number 1 is to stop unwholesome things. Number 2 is to give up unwholesome things. Do you remember that? Number one, right effort. Number 1 is to stop. You do not have that unwholesome things. For example, you are not angry. You do not get angry. And then you have that effort. You're not already, okay? You have that effort to stop that anger. That's the effort, number 1. Number 2, maybe you understand that, yes, sometimes I get angry. Okay? Then you should have that effort to abandon that, to give up that. Did you understand this, Peter? Number 1 and number 2, effort.
I understand it. It's not something I'm very good at.
That's okay. How did you understand that, number 1 and number 2?
Someone, I suppose mostly it's with the mind, but making an, I can't read the screen there. Exerts the mind and strives so that balance qualities, unskillful qualities. So making an effort with your mind to remove like hatred and anger and delusion.
Yes, very good. Okay, thank you, Peter. We will talk about the third and the fourth in right effort. Number 3. So when we understand that we have no wholesome qualities in our mind, then we get this effort to have that. For example, maybe you will find that I need the patience. I need to develop patience. And then you have that effort. Yes, this is something I should get, I should have in my life. You get this effort to have that patience in your mind. That's the third one. Maybe you understand that, yes, I have my patience. I am already patient, but I should develop that. I should grow my patience. Then you get this effort to grow that. Then you get the effort to develop that. That's the fourth step. Okay, how about Linda?
No, Budaya Bante or Sarabante. My understanding is for number 3, it's like when we are doing loving kindness meditation, when we are doing dana, when we are helping friends, when we are saying kind things to people. That way, we generate and we make an effort to have the skillful qualities, to have that wholesome qualities arise in our mind. Meanwhile, number 4, that means we already have that. We already do dana, but then we let's say we already offer food to the Supreme Buddha, to the Mahasangha, but then we find out there are other opportunities that we can develop more. Like we can Mahasangha needs something else, and we do even more than what we have already done. Let's say we are helping friends when they, or friend, let's say like when our friends are sick, we go help them. We cook food for them. You know, we help them financially. But then on top of that, we generate even more, like we send loving kindness thoughts, hoping they are getting better soon, you know. That's what my understanding, Bhante.
Yes, very good, very good. Absolutely, you're right. And then when we talk about the meditations too, sometimes you might understand, I should develop this. I should develop my concentration. I am not good, or maybe like I have some kind of practice, but I should develop that. This kind of effort you take to develop that. Okay, these are the third and fourth about the wholesome qualities. To have that and to develop that. Very good. It's you can understand this simply. And then we are here to talk about Samma Sati, or right mindfulness. Anyone else here? You get the chance and read. I like to give this chance to Kevin and Laura.
Samma Sati, right mindfulness. And what is right mindfulness? A monk meditates by observing an aspect of the body, keen, aware, and mindful, rid of desire and aversion for the world. They meditate observing an aspect of feeling, keen, aware, and mindful, rid of desire and aversion for the world. They meditate observing an aspect of the mind, keen, aware, and mindful, right of desire and aversion for the world. They meditate observing an aspect of principles, keen, aware, and mindful, rid of desire and aversion for the world. This is called rightful mindfulness.
In Pali, you may see this Samma Sati, Kayanupassana, the number one, observing an aspect of the body, Kayanupassana. Number two, Vedananupassana, observing an aspect of the feeling. Chittanupassana, observing an aspect of the mind. Dhammanupassana, observing the Dhamma, or observing the aspect of the mind objects, observing an aspect of principles, you might say. These are the Samma Sati, in 4 steps in Samma Sati. And then this is very clearly explained by the Supreme Buddha in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. And then our Supreme Buddha, when he was meditating, he understood that Samma Sati, right mindfulness, is something which is the way for the liberation. And then I selected some part, and then I give this chance to read to Sandesh about our Supreme Buddha's understanding about the right mindfulness this way. The 4 establishments of mindfulness.
The 4 establishments of mindfulness. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Uruvela on the bank of the river Neranjara, at the foot of the goatherd's banyan tree, just after he had become fully enlightened. Then, while the Blessed One was alone in seclusion, a reflection arose in his mind.
Like this. Ravin, how about your reading? Ravin De Silva. You ready? This is what you have.
This is the one-way path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation,
for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the achievement of the method, for the realization of Nibbana. That is the four establishments of mindfulness.
Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, this is the seventh part in the Noble Eightfold Path. Seventh step in the Noble Eightfold Path. That was right mindfulness. So Supreme Buddha, when he understood this Dhamma, he saw with his wisdom like this. This is the only path for the purification of beings. So when they go through this samsara, for the purification, to understand the Dhamma, for the overcoming sorrow and lamentation, for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the achievement of the method, for the realization of Nibbana, that is the four establishments of mindfulness. That's what our Supreme Buddha understood about the mindfulness. So when you practice this mindfulness all the time, you practice the Noble Eightfold Path, apart from the Noble Eightfold Path. I think you understand that. Okay. Next, we will, if we have time, yes, we have more time. Samma Samadhi is the last one. Somebody can read, maybe.
Can I try starting one, sir?
Delete. Delete. Delete has an intention. Don't worry about the words you see in the text. It's a little bit hard sometimes. Don't worry about that. Try this.
Samma Samadhi, right concentration. And what is right concentration? It's when a monk, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first absorption, the first jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected.
Oh, I am sorry.
The placing of the mind and keeping it connected are stilled, they enter and remain in the second absorption, the second jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion with internal clarity and confidence. An unified mind without placing the mind and keeping it connected.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. These are two things in Samma Samadhi, right concentration. If you want to remember this in detail, you can read this and understand. But if you want to understand it simply, keep it in mind. First jhana, second jhana, which are the levels of concentration, levels of absorption, first level and the second level, or samadhi. First samadhi and the second samadhi, first jhana and the second jhana. Likewise, you can remember. Remember, Samma Samadhi is all about the concentration, all about the meditation. When you practice this, you achieve kind of levels in the concentration. First step, second step, likewise. And then we have more, third and fourth. Third jhana and fourth jhana, likewise. So, Dimal, how about your reading? Maybe the third one for you. Dimal, Kula, Tilak.
Okay, my son wants it. And with the fading away of rapture, they enter and remain in the third absorption, the third jhana, where they meditate with equanimity, mindful and aware, personal experience, the bliss of which the noble ones declare, equanimous and mindful. One meditates in bliss.
Okay, you want to remember that. Very good reading. That is the third jhana or third step of the meditation, the third level of the concentration or the third absorption. Yes, very good. Manu and Kumit, you have the fourth one.
Giving up pleasure and pain and ending former happiness and sadness, they enter and remain in the fourth absorption, the fourth jhana, without pleasure or pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness.
This is called?
It's called right concentration.
Right concentration. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. You read the third and the fourth. The third is the third jhana. The fourth is the fourth jhana. Remember, in right concentration, there are 4 steps. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. In simply, you say the first level of the concentration, the second level, the third level, and the fourth level. These are very deep things, maybe to read. Okay, this is Dinara. Dinara, we will read maybe more about dependent origination, the cessation of suffering, maybe in our next episode. So the things that I wanted to talk today was deep from the Supreme Buddha based on our Pinnath Loku Swamin Wanse's book, Marvelous Sage, Acharya Manuso in Sinhala version. So thanks to our Pinnath Loku Swamin Wanse, we learned these beautiful things from the Supreme Buddha, about our Supreme Buddha, about the wisdom of our Supreme Buddha. So if you do not understand the deep things I talked today too, don't worry about it. You may be able to understand this in the future as you read more and as you listen more about the Dhamma from the Supreme Buddha.